there are so many great stories to tell in education. And I would say that we don't do a good enough job of telling them. I've got a mantra that if you're not telling your story, somebody else is, and it's probably not the way you want it told.
We are surrounded by content. Content shapes who we follow, how we lead, what we buy, and even what we believe. Welcome to the Content Generation Podcast, a class intercom production where we focus on the stories that come to life in schools all over the world. We highlight the students, educators, and communities who share the content that shapes our future. Well, welcome back. It is fun to be live at NSPRA. Dr. Jill, a lot happening here. As you can see, we are playing games here. We've got a whole bunch of school PR professionals, but what do you look forward to so much at NSPRA?
Yeah, this is such an amazing conference, and I just love seeing all the people that I know, and it's amazing over the last 4 years how many people from across the country and Canada that I've met and know and really consider true friends. And so I love looking forward to them and then learning from them and then meeting a bunch of new people too, because it's just such great energy and enthusiasm here.
It's so great. I know you're presenting. We've also got some clients presenting. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're talking about?
Yeah, so we're talking about the social media strategy to build a team of content creators. So that might be staff, students, maybe even parents, really building all that in. Excited to present with our Class Intercom ambassadors from Ohio and New Jersey, Ashaya and Christina, and really talking about great hands-on tips to really make that happen in your district, whether you're doing one intern or a whole team of content creators.
Awesome. Well, it's fun to be here. So many great thought leaders. For those of you who couldn't make it here, we'd love to chat with you about some of the fun sessions. But also, one of the sessions to look forward to is Jake Sturgis. And we've got a podcast interview with him that I did just the other day. And there's Jake. Hey, Jake, come over and say hi. I'm just talking about you. Here you are. I'm just hyping your session.
Yeah, episodic content.
Yeah.
Episodic content. Jake, that could not have been timed better. Let's listen to your podcast. That was awesome. Well, welcome back to the Content Generation Podcast. I have a friend that I have known for several years through a lot of NSPRA comms events. Jake, it is really fun to have you on the podcast and to talk. We had some time to talk pre-recording, and now I'm just more excited for this conversation. Welcome, Jake.
Awesome. I'm excited too.
Yeah, well, we've talked, and I think, I, as a casual shooter of content, video and otherwise, have looked up to some of your work, and I know you're headed to present at NSPRA here shortly, and we've got a lot of different things that we get to see from your work in your presentations, things like that. But I'm excited to get to know some of your background and how you became a content creator.
Yeah, well, when I was growing up, I thought I wanted to work in television news. And I thought that's going to be me. I'm going to be on the anchor desk and I'm going to report and, do all those things. So I went to school for mass comms. I worked at a television station in Duluth, Minnesota, so northern Minnesota, small market, when I was going to college. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like I was running the teleprompter, cameras, audio board. And then I got asked to help produce a newscast. And that's sort of a stepping stone to become a reporter and then become an anchor. Like you start off behind the scenes and you start producing, which is basically kind of stacking a show, so to speak, with writing content that the anchors are going to read and transitions and all that stuff. And graduation time came around and I was like, I don't think I want to do this the rest of my life. I would see the people that did work on camera, they'd go out and they'd sort of get harassed by people that, because they're local celebrities, and the hours were terrible. Working, especially night side, you're working, roughly 2 to 10:30. And, just thinking ahead with, eventually wanting a family and all that stuff. Like these are terrible family hours to catch a kid's baseball game or whatever it is. And I decided that that's not what I wanted to do the rest of my life, which was a great lesson to learn while I was just graduating college, and to not have to find that out later. So graduation time came around and I'm like, I'm out. I've tried this. I think I'm done with it. So I moved back home to the Twin Cities area where I worked in school communications for 2 different school districts. And I sort of just stumbled on it because I knew that I liked doing video work, and I had done some like youth group type stuff through some church organizations. I like working with kids, and I like video. Maybe there's something here with this job doing video within a school. So, really from there, I did a lot of content creation and storytelling and really saw the power of what that looks like, both internally and creating the first school that I worked at. I did a lot of internal content. It was at a junior high, and a lot of student videos and kind of like helping promote things within the school, food drive type stuff, but then also trying to find a junior high tilt to it with, which was a lot of fun, and having creativity to be able to do those sorts of things. And, did transition to another neighboring district and did a lot of work there in terms of storytelling, and a lot really in terms of enrollment, and really highlighting programs and people and some of the great things that they had going on. And during my time there, I sort of realized like there's something here. And most school districts didn't have the luxury of having somebody who was a dedicated video person to help tell stories. And I was looking around at other school districts at the time that I was helping out kind of on the side. And honestly, like a lot of their stuff looked like a third grader made it, which like isn't always the best look for your brand when you're going to referendum and asking for millions of dollars from taxpayers, or you've got a recruitment campaign for students or staff, and it looks like, like I said, like a third grader created the video. I've been able to slowly kind of grow a team, and I think I've got a team of 13 now.
Wow.
We're based in the Twin Cities area, but we're doing work for primarily school districts and organizations that serve schools all around the country. And so it's kind of like what I was doing at a small scale with some of these school districts, but now on a much, much bigger scale, which is really, really neat to be able to see the impact and the types of stories that we've been able to tell for the last 11 years that I've done this.
I love that. We're going to get into the current work you do. When'd you get your first camera? What'd that look like?
Oh boy. I'm pretty sure that I was in middle school when we got that. And family, I think it was a high 8 was the tape format for anybody who's as old as me or a little bit older. Now, of course, there's no tapes. It's all digital. But we had a high 8 and would record different family events. And there was one time we went on vacation with my family. We went ziplining and stuff like that. And I brought the camera on the zip line and got all these great clips and stuff like that. And I had a public access television show at the time, and that's something that I've also had to explain to my kids because they've got no idea what public access TV is with YouTube and everything out there now. But anyway. I didn't tell my parents that I was taking video from the family vacation and putting it out there. My mom wasn't too happy with everybody seeing her on the zip line and the vacation activities without letting her know. So I learned at an early age in terms of getting permission from people before you broadcast that content out.
Those are good lessons, right? And sometimes, that's great. So you've moved in. You're doing video for school districts all over. I've seen some samples of those, and fantastic work. What's wired you to think about the types of stories that a school really needs to tell? I mean, you fell into the industry, but something's kept you here. And what is it that's really kept you working with school districts?
I think the impact that these stories can have and the quality of the stories. Steve Hartman, who's he works for CBS, and he has kind of a series that he does around storytelling. And he's someone to follow if you don't follow already. but he tells a lot of school stories, especially. And there's just something about students, teachers, that relationship, those aha moments, and those things that sometimes can go unnoticed that people don't always, hear about or see. But when you do find those stories and you're able to, many times build that trust up with that teacher or that student or that family to be able to tell that story in a really meaningful way that many times they're somewhat vulnerable in sharing some of those pieces, but then the the impact, the inspiration that can have for that community, and many times a ripple effect beyond that for others to be able to see that and sometimes emulate that. And that's something that I actually like. I mean, some people like, oh, you stole my content, like, or you stole my idea, like, I don't like you. But I think when, if we can inspire people, whether through stories or the types of stories that we're telling, I think that's a win, because there are so many great stories to tell in education. And I would say that we don't do a good enough job of telling them. And you can watch, for anybody who still does watch the local news or national news, that the way that schools many times are portrayed or looked at isn't necessarily accurate. And I've got a mantra that if you're not telling your story, somebody else is, and it's probably not the way you want it told. And schools have to be able to tell those stories and share those stories and have avenues to be able to share that, so their community, their families, their staff, their prospective staff and students can be able to see some of those great things going on. And that's been one of the reasons why I keep doing what I'm doing, that it makes a difference. I'm not just creating video content to help somebody sell more widgets. I'm creating video content that's making a difference. And like with some of our referendum campaigns, when schools are able to go to taxpayers and get millions of dollars approved for a brand new school building or secure entrances for their schools, that's real. Like that's real life. Those are facilities that potentially could be saving lives, that could potentially be around for the next 50 plus years, and like generations of people being able to work out in a new fitness facility, or have science class experiments that with the new lab structure are able to do some pretty amazing things and inspire them for their future with what that looks like. So sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in the day-to-day and the small details, but then taking a step back and looking at the big picture and some of the impact with storytelling is pretty remarkable.
I love the way you're thinking about that. I benefited from a school that they planted trees way before I got to benefit from that shade, right? Like that's the perspective in schools, is it's a long-term thinking. And as we're thinking about long-term thinking, one of the things that's popped up in the last few years is the emergence of AI, and it's now moving more into video content, and we're seeing it. I've had a lot of references and presentations about it being in some ways fantastic, and in some ways the new email forward, where I'm trying to actively root it out of a lot of the content that I view personally. And I want to get your take on how you're seeing AI changing video and the things that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly disrupting the industry. And, if people would have told me even 2 years ago, some of the technology that's out there now in terms of how AI is going to impact video, I would have said, you're crazy. And it's remarkable. So there are, I think there's a lot more competition for attention out there, as you think about content for social media. And, I think you really have about 3 seconds, maybe less, to grab somebody's attention when they're looking through social media and trying to find content that they want to engage with. And with AI, there's some pretty spectacular things that people can create and put into prompts and be able to have videos that really, grab your attention and bring you in. And I think that that's something that we need to be aware of as we're creating content and putting things together, and really putting ourselves in the viewer's mind of what that looks like. So we're seeing, I don't think that the talking head video is necessarily dead, but it's certainly dying. And what I mean by that is that, when you've got kind of a spokesperson who's up and talking and maybe sharing about all the great attributes of a school district, more of a teleprompter kind of type read. There are apps that you can create that you can get, your superintendent as an avatar and have, type in whatever you want them to say and have AI put that together. And it, to some people that can look like hitting the easy button and like, yeah, let's just do this. I don't have to, worry about scheduling and, a location and, figuring out, editing, and I can just do that. I think we lose a lot when, with AI. And I think that's the piece that we want to lean into, is more of that authentic storytelling where there are things and people can just be humans and be real. And maybe the video isn't quite as polished as it would have been a few years ago, because the content that's engaging with people most on social media right now is more kind of raw and unfiltered to a certain degree, of people just being people. So in that vein, we just a couple of weeks ago, we started a series. We're calling it One Take Tuesday, because there's people like me that like, I don't like messing up, and I don't like, I'm the type of person where I grab my phone and I'm going to be doing a video, 5 or 6 times until I get a take that is just right, which takes time, and it doesn't also show my personality and who I am. But with one take, and I think this is an idea that school districts can take, I hope they do, get a leader, your superintendent, who's maybe like a little bit concerned about their image and not wanting to mess up, by having a series of content where it's one take, and that's sort of the shtick. And hopefully there is some humor and some laughter and some personality, everything that's sort of anti-AI that allows you to be human and real. So I think, as I think about the content that we're creating, it's needing to be exactly that. And that's, as I said, that's how the type of content that people are engaging with most on social media platforms.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I've been analyzing some videos and content with some of our marketing team, and one of the things we've been looking at is the way that even video large brands are taking video and trying to make it, even though they're using high-end gear and lighting and all the things, and they're trying to make it look like it was shot by a junior hire on an iPhone.
Yeah.
That's their goal. That's the look that they want to create. And they're spending 6, maybe even 7 figures to make that type of content. And it's crazy to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting to kind of like, as the trends change. I talked initially about they look like videos that a third grader created. Well, like sometimes that actually works now. Before, everything was just so much more buttoned up, so to speak, with just quality and polish and all those things. And that's really been a big change, I think, in the industry over the last few years, which gives people who especially are just starting in video, now's a great time to test things out and to not feel like, oh, I don't know that I can, it's not good enough. I mean, you want to hold the camera steady. You want to get good audio. I mean, there's, a couple basics, but for the most part, a lot of stuff, if it does look a little bit more raw and unpolished, you're going to get that engagement and that authenticity. And I think a byproduct of that with school districts too is just trust. And if you can have somebody, your superintendent or another district leader, be real and be human and be approachable and all those things, that goes a long way. And video is a way to be able to have those conversations and be able to show off some of those skills that person has and that personality that person has to a lot of people at the same time, without that person having to engage one-on-one with everybody in the district.
You said earlier, sometimes it takes under 3 seconds to stop the scroll. That's a very short amount of time to tell a story. And I know that at Inspira, you're also talking not just about how to tell a story in 3 seconds, but how to begin to piece that out as part of a longer story. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like to think more long term about content, and content that isn't just 3 seconds, but has a longer shelf life and can create those opportunities for an audience, a community to look forward to the type of content that you're creating?
Yeah, we've seen both ourselves with some content that we've created as well as with some of our districts that we worked with, that episodic content is really popular. And if you think in your life outside of work and school, I'm guessing people are listening to podcasts that are episodic. I'm guessing people are watching shows on Netflix and Hulu and on YouTube that are episodic in content, where there's a common element or theme that's tying all of these pieces together. Sometimes that can be music, sometimes that can be graphics, transitions, a different type of content. And the presentation at Inspira is really about episodic content and what that has looked like. And I mean, if you think outside of videos, schools are doing a lot of this work. I mean, already through newsletters and different types of content, where every 2 weeks or every week or every Friday, we're going to put out a staff newsletter or community newsletter, whatever that looks like. Many times now through email, but you get people to start to expect that content coming in. And it helps you in terms of deadlines, put stuff together. It helps you in terms of, I think, content creation, have some guardrails as you're putting that together. So maybe with video, maybe it's a teacher feature where every week or month or quarter, whatever that looks like, you're featuring a different teacher or a different program or a different student, whatever that, maybe it's part of your strategic plan. And while you probably don't want to call it a strategic plan video, because I think that just kind of glazes people's eyes over. And, but many times there's work from that strategic plan that is allowing teachers to build stronger relationships with students. And you're able to highlight things like that people actually care about. So yeah, the episodic piece, I think, is something that a lot of people maybe who are getting started on video or maybe have done video for a little bit, they look at that as, fairly daunting of, oh my gosh, so you're going to tell me I need to create a video, whatever frequency that is. And I think that can also be helpful for people to be able to know, okay, every 2 weeks we're going to be doing a video on this. And you can kind of start to work ahead and even batch some of this work together, and to not have to scratch your head every, few days or few weeks, like, I've got no idea what I want to do for this next video project. But if I need to find a teacher, we've got 5 districts or 5 schools in the district. I've already hit 3 of those. So I want to find a teacher from one of the 2 remaining schools that we've got that can help narrow kind of that content and that focus, and allow you to create some really good content. And again, trying to create that following and having some consistency with day of the week or time of the week that you're putting the content out, so you can start to build that audience. So it's not just a bunch of one-off videos, but you're actually creating a series of content for people to look forward to, hopefully, and engage with.
Well, Jake, I love you're hitting on so many topics that we think make really great content. One, design constraints, right? You're putting a limit, your guardrails, as you said, helps. You're scheduling those out. So now all of a sudden, people, they crave that scarcity, right? Now, I'm waiting for, or I'm anticipating, did I miss it, right? That FOMO experience. So you're hitting on so many of those things that I think we don't often talk about in this ongoing video type of content. Like you said, we talk about it with a newsletter, but we don't talk about it in video very often in school PR and communications. So I'd love to dive into, when you're thinking about creating something like that in episodic content, what do you think is the non-starter? Is it really the intimidation factor of saying, I don't know if I want to commit to that? Because I've found once I get in, it's actually a little freeing once I'm in, but it takes a bit of commitment.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, I think one of the toughest things for people in school PR is just time and finding
Yeah.
time. And video, depending on how you put it together, I mean, it can be incredibly time consuming. But if you start small and like a teacher feature, like 60 seconds, like you can tell a story and show that, show that teacher in the best light and be able to put all those things together. And you don't have to overanalyze it or overthink it. And by starting small, and yes, the quality and all that stuff, it may not be great when you start, but that's something that you can build on. And I think you just have to start somewhere, and you can't let perfection be the enemy of just getting stuff done. And it can be a learning piece as you grow and get better. I mean, your content's going to look better, and you may look back at the first video and be like, "Oh, geez, like I can't believe that's what we started with this series." But you can grow from that and be like, pat yourself on the back and be like, yeah, look, like, but look at where we're at now. Look at what we're able to create at this point. And then also look at the impact that's making. I know when I worked in a school district, it was really hard with video getting started because people didn't know me. And there was sort of a like, do we trust this guy? And by the time that I left, people knew that I was going to make them sound coherent and, edit, put things together with them in the best light, the school in the best light, and the internal trust that was built with me going out creating stories. It wasn't just with the community as we were putting that content out. It was internally with staff, as somebody from the district office coming out, showing that humanity and, all those things that we talked about, the authenticity, and being able to build those relationships, and for people to be able to start to put their guard down a little bit and actually look forward. I think at least some of them to me coming out and recording video, rather than like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get any sleep last night. Like I've been thinking all night about this video and all these things, but I hope that I was able to put that to rest for people, that they knew that they could be themselves, and they can mess up and say some things, and we can record a second take and all the things that I would do to help them feel comfortable doing it.
Well, Jake, I love the thought process behind it. I love thinking about having more conversations about episodic content. I think it's a really valuable thing for us to be communicating about as school communicators. Love what you're bringing to the industry. I'm looking forward to seeing you at InSprint in a short amount of time here and hanging out. Is there anything you're binging in episodic content right now?
Not really. It's been, I'm in a little drought with, both of my kids are in baseball, and it feels like I'm either working or I'm at baseball practice or games. So I definitely probably after NSPR at this point need to find my next show to binge on.
Well, I hope you can catch a good one on the plane. My most recent one that is out of the box was Jury Duty. Have you seen this?
No.
Fantastic show. And the whole premise of it, James Marsden is in it, a professional actor, but there's one guy who's selected who is a non-actor, and everybody else is an actor in the show. And so this one guy ends up being the subject of the show. And it's a fantastic show. They're just working on season 2. But what I do love about your talk about episodic content is I look forward to those. And now I'm looking forward to season 2. And I think so many schools have opportunities to benefit from that kind of action. So, there's my little recommendation. I believe it was on Amazon Prime. But looking forward to seeing you at NSPR next week, and can't wait to catch up.
Sounds great. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you as well, Ben.
Thanks, Jake.